So hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Family Insurance DreamBank, where we believe in the transformative power of dreams. My name is Jenna, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. For those of you who are familiar with DreamBank, welcome back, and for those that are joining us for the first time, welcome. As we begin, I invite you to engage with our community of dreamers by sharing one of your dreams in the comments. Here at American Family Insurance, we believe communities are stronger and the future is brighter when people are actively pursuing their dreams. That's why we created DreamBank, an inspirational community destination and digital experience dedicated to dreamers everywhere. From our daily event series to immersive signature programs, there's something for every dreamer. Our offerings are designed to help you celebrate the dream journey, overcome obstacles, and stay motivated. Now let's shift the focus from DreamBank and myself to the highlight of today's event. It's my honor to introduce our esteemed speaker, Alecia Jacobson. Alecia is a women's life coach, life and health coach, speaker, group facilitator, and podcast host. Alecia is obsessed with all things women's mental health and physical health, and is an Enneagram 8 and Taurus. So you can be sure she will be right there with you in the trenches as you learn and grow. Alecia's current passions are learning to dance and redefining the meaning of success. Welcome, Alecia. We're delighted to have you with us. The stage is yours.
Hello, thank you so much. Thank you, Jenna. I'm really excited to be here today. This morning, as I'm getting ready, I'm getting my girls ready for school. One of them is going through my jewelry box, and she pulls out my medals, which is funny because I'm talking about medals today. So I wanted to share that with you as we got started. Way back in 2010, I got this medal for running a marathon, and that's in Madison here. And that was way before they moved it to the fall. It's in the fall now. They canceled the marathon when I was at mile 22 because they had run out of ambulances, and it was like over 100 degrees, and I just pushed through. I was like, I have put in so much time and effort. I am not stopping now. I'm going to push through. And I did, and I got my medal, and that medal was well deserved. But do you want to know what they don't give medals for? They don't give medals for being exhausted. You don't get a medal for not taking care of yourself. You don't get a medal for being overly scheduled and doing everything for everyone else. They don't hand those out. So today, that's what we're going to dive into. We are going to talk about all things self-care, how to reimagine self-care, kind of looking at maybe what your idea of is it of right now, and then maybe how can we switch that and get you to be thinking about self-care through a different lens so that you can actually start putting it in practice. And how are you going to put it in practice? I'm going to start you out. I have a QR code here. If you are on a desktop, you can go ahead and scan that. If you are joining today on your phone, just take a screenshot right now, and then you can go back to it in your photos and just click on the link, and it will bring you to a workbook. I have an 11-page workbook for you that is a great pair with this today, and you can go through it afterwards. There's some journaling. There is a chart that you can kind of keep track, a tracker of all the things that you can put into practice. So we get really excited when we're in these things, and then sometimes, life happens, and I want to make sure that you take everything today and that you take it forward with you. So I will have this on the last screen as well, but go ahead and scan it or take a screenshot if you can right now. Otherwise, let's get going. All right, self-care. Why does it get a bad rap? Why are we here talking about how self-care is selfish? You have probably been led to believe that taking care of yourself is not worthy, and that putting everyone else's needs ahead of your own is virtuous. You may have even thought that you are competing, that we're going to get some medal for being exhausted and the most busy. And that just doesn't happen. Or you may have heard comments from people saying like, oh, so-and-so is on another vacation. Or this person isn't showing up to the event because they're always thinking of themselves and it just doesn't fit in their schedule. And even though that might not be directed towards you, those seeds are planted within you that you think taking care of yourself is bad. And that if you then take care of yourself and you do those things, then you are bad. One that I hear all the time, all the time is people who either go to exercise in the daytime, like a random, a one-off, or in a store like Target. What do all these people do that they can be here in the middle of the day? Must be nice. And you hear these things and it immediately makes you think like, oh, am I doing something wrong for doing this? And no, you're not. But somewhere along the line, we got this idea that we heard it either from friends or parents, coworkers or bosses, that this idea that if you take care of yourself, if you meet your own needs, that is not right. And so we have constructed our lives around being busy, and busy is glorified 100% all the time. And when we do this, all our needs come last. And you may even be a person that secretly judges other people who do take care of themselves, all while wishing that you could actually do it for yourself. So if this at all sounds like you, and that can feel really bad, that doesn't feel necessarily good when you're judging other people, but really inside you're like, ugh, I really wish I could do this for myself, but I just can't. Or maybe it's a little bit more icky than that. But we're going to get into all of this today. And then what happens from there, if you feel that selfish, if you do, that's why you feel selfish, but then you feel guilty. And that guilt comes up because you have this idea of feeling selfish. So then what happens, and this happens with almost everybody that I work with when we have this type of issue that comes up, is if they do plan something, whether it's taking care of themselves or a new exercise program or anything like this, they feel guilt leading up to it. They feel guilty during it. And if you feel guilty during it, you don't even get to enjoy what you're actually doing because you're feeling guilty. You can't hold those two things. You can't have that good feeling and that guilt feeling of, well, I should be doing this, or I'm not doing this, or what I really need to be doing now is this, or somebody asked me to do something for them right now. And I feel so bad that I'm here because I said I would. And when you're in that cycle, it's too hard to break. And then you end up leaving whatever it was that you had planned, and you feel guilty for even doing it in the first place. And then guess what? You don't do it again because that doesn't feel good to feel bad about doing things that is actually good for yourself. So then you don't do it. And the other thing that I hear overwhelmingly about self-care is that it takes too much time and too much money. And these are some of the things that we're going to really work on today, is reimagining what self-care is. And in the workbook, I give you a list of things that are low cost or no cost ways for self-care, some that have some cost, and then ones that have a little time. So through reimagining, which is what we're going to do today, we're going to really work at this one, because most people, if I say, what is self-care, they will think like the massage and taking hours, and massages are expensive and they're really great. I get them, but it's not something that you can do every day. It's not something that can happen all the time. And maybe you don't have the resources to even put towards that kind of thing right now. And that's totally fine. And that's why we're here, because you don't have to. You can be tending to your own needs and taking care of yourself without having to do these extravagant things, or without having to do those things. And not that a massage is extravagant for everyone, but you don't have to feel selfish or guilty while you're doing it, so that you can go out and do the things and you can feel absolutely rejuvenated and restored and rested while you're doing it, and then afterwards. So we're going to release that guilt around it. Okay. Why do we need to meet our own needs? We are not meant to go all the time. We, again, like I said before, we live in a society that glorifies having a full schedule. And if you see you have time, you may have seen like these videos where people are like, oh, I have an hour. Am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? Am I going to do this? They feel like they have to fill it with things to feel productive, to feel like they're getting enough done, to feel like they are enough. They always have to be being productive, but we're not meant to be productive 100% of the time. And maybe it's reimagining what does productive look like, because you can't be what you need to be for your dreams, for your family, for your coworkers, for just you as a person, if you are constantly on the go. When you never have time to recharge your battery, you don't show up well. And that is part of what we're doing here is how can you reimagine what self-care is so that you can show up as a better version of you, a taken care of version of you for not only yourself, but for everyone around you. It's a ripple effect. When you start pouring into yourself, even though it feels like right now, like, where am I going to find the time? I will show you. But when you start pouring into yourself, you are able to give so much more because it just overflows because you're so full of goodness and you're actually rested and taking care of your own needs. If you are not already, you will experience burnout, exhaustion, and anxiety. They go hand in hand with not taking care of yourself. So if these are things that you already are experiencing, which I think most people to some degree, if you are an adult, this is something that you have experienced, then absolutely finding these small ways to tend to your own needs and take care of yourself is so, so, so important. Because if you think, I mean, going through life, going through each day, feeling like there is just too much, that there are too many things that you're trying to keep track of. They talk about like all the tabs on a computer being open, and that's what our brains are like. We are not supposed to be doing all of these things all of the time. It's not how we're designed, and we cannot function well when we have that feeling of overwhelm and anxiety and stress constantly coming at us. And to get rid of that, we need to take care. We need that self-care. And we need to do that because if you've got too high of the anxiety and things like that, the stress, once you start to add in, I talk about crowding out stress. Once you start to add in the self-care, it naturally crowds out the things that are causing you anxiety. All the bits that go into self-care give you all of the good endorphins and hormones that lessen the impact of stress and anxiety and that feeling of overwhelm. So when we create that sort of balance, even them out, I don't like the word balance really, because I feel like there has to be just this give and take all the time. But when we can crowd in the things that we're going to talk about today using the tools I'm going to give you, then naturally the other things can lessen. Because really, you deserve to live such a beautiful and wonderful life. Like, that is the why. The why is every single person is going to be better off if they're taking care of their needs. Because like I said, it filters, it comes out of you. You can tell if a person is exhausted, and you can tell it shows. So it also shows when you are rested and rejuvenated and excited about the things that you're doing, that will show and shine off of you. So this is just so, so important to kind of put on this mindset, this growth mindset, because thinking that it's selfish and only for a certain few, or kind of having that judgmental kind of vibe around it, is a very fixed mindset. The idea of, I don't have time, I don't have resources, end of story. Or I'm selfish if I do it, end of story. That's a fixed mindset, something that you learned. So we really want to step into that growth and expansive mindset about, wait, what if I added in self-care? What would be possible if I gave myself permission to rest, or gave myself permission to take an hour on a Saturday and read a book, or go for a walk, anything like that? These are all things that are little to no cost. And the impact of them when they're done over time is absolutely huge. All right. How are we going to do this? The strategy for this. So the first part is having an awareness of that. This is even like I talked about the mindset, that you even have this sort of fixed mindset that it's selfish, or that maybe when I said about people secretly judging people, and it's okay, everybody has judgments, but that's a message to you. If you're judging other people who are taking care of themselves, if you think like, oh, must be nice, or I wish I could do that, that sort of like, that is a like red flag. Hello, wake up, and let's create this awareness of, yes, you too can actually do this. You can drop the idea of it being selfish. I work with people on this all the time, because it is not selfish. But having the awareness that this is even a way that you have been thinking is the absolute first step, because you can't do anything without having the awareness that this is a thing that has been going on and been happening. And then this next one is probably the most important, and it's believing. You have to believe that is even possible. So that brings in the fixed and the growth mindset. If you don't believe, if you don't truly have a feeling of, yeah, I can figure out a way to do this. I believe in myself enough. I believe that I can find the resources, find the people, find the tools to support me in doing this, whether it's hiring somebody or reading a book or just committing to it, getting the workbook after this and saying, okay, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to see what's actually possible. And I believe so much in myself that I can do this, that it's possible. Because without that belief, if you just sort of brush it off and think, I'm too busy, I can't do it, I'm not one of those people that actually can have time for this, then absolutely, you'll not do this. But if you believe and just practice trying on belief, you don't have to, this is like the thing, well, what if it's actually not that way? Just practice, because what I tell people that I work with is what is also true. So if you have that idea that like it's not for me, well, what else is also true? Because it's also true that you've tried new things before. It's also true that maybe you could practice believing in yourself, that this is something that you could attempt at doing and start kind of dipping your toes in and living in a new way that is really taking care of yourself and nourishing your mind, body, and soul, and all the things. And then next is a priority. So if you don't make it a priority, it's not going to happen. And this is a really kind of interesting one, because if you feel that it's selfish, the idea of me saying, okay, now I want you to make it a priority, it's going to be like, that doesn't feel good. So one, yes, I want you to make it a priority, but we're kind of going to make it a very small priority first, because you will be repelled by it, because it's something new and we're naturally drawn to the things that feel comfortable and that we're used to doing. So if I'm telling you to go from never making yourself a priority to now we're going to prioritize self-care and then build everything else around it, that you're probably like, no, thank you. That does not feel good for me. So yes, I want you to make it a priority, but in the action part, we're going to talk about, making it, starting small and making it a priority. I give you a tracker in there. So there's some things that accountability can help people in making things a priority. But unless it's something that you remember to do consistently and all the time, where you're like, oh, this is something that I'm doing. When I was training for my marathon way back in the day, I made it a priority, and I would go out. I had to run probably every day, or at least 5 days a week, so that I could actually then run the marathon. And this is no different. This is the same thing. So if you're thinking about how do I make self-care a priority, you can do things like set alarms to remind yourself, because it brings it top of mind. A lot of people like journaling, different ways to remind yourself that, oh, this is something I'm working on. I have like sticky notes all over my desk or in my bedroom, my bathroom, that remind me of the things that are a current priority for what I'm working on right now. Because we're busy. I've already said that we have this go, 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 busy, busy, busy. So when you're starting something new, if you don't make it a priority, if you don't find ways to attach some accountability to it, it will likely fall through the cracks. So really keeping in mind that that is really important. And then action. How are you going to do this? Action has to be taken. And in the journal, in the workbook that I give you, there is a whole place for making an action plan for this, because when you write it down, you're likely more to follow through on it. So making sure that when you're done here today, thinking about the things like, what do you want to add in to taking care of yourself? And how do you then go ahead and do this? So in an action plan, it can be helpful to think about things like the time of day you're going to do it, the frequency that you're going to do it. Do you need any accountability with it? Do you need a trainer? Do you need a coach? Do you need a friend maybe at work? I was working with one woman, and her part of her action was her workmates. They were going to exercise in the early mornings, get up early and go to work and work out ahead of time. So she had that accountability. So making sure in that action that you have kind of a support crew, your pit crew, that can also help you in making sure, like, oh, I know that you're doing this thing, and making sure that you're doing the forward action. Because while we're not meant to do it all, we're also not meant to do this alone. So it is so, so, so helpful to have people that are also doing maybe the same thing, and have them with you and in on the action. Whenever I start something new that I'm doing, my husband and I, we have weekly meetings, and he knows, oh, I'm doing this. I recently quit coffee about a week and a half ago. And part of my action plan was letting him know, and then I put the whole plan in place, but bringing people on board with that action. And then how are we going to do this? I've said the word reimagining so many times, and this is a key part. Because right now, if what you're thinking is selfish or time, money, all of these things, then we have to take that off. Like, put it, if you can imagine it, even outside of you, that can be really helpful. And let's try on something new. What are the things that could possibly be self-care? What are the things that you need? I mean, this can be as simple as making your own doctor's appointments. When we're taking care of other people, some of us might be taking care of our kids and our parents. And if you're taking care of other people and scheduling all of their appointments, guess who's going to get left in the dust? You are. So this could mean scheduling and keeping that action, your own doctor's appointments. This is giving yourself permission to just rest. And while you're resting, not be thinking about the things that you should be doing. And if that comes in, similar to meditation, when those things come in, just let them go. Yes, I see you. Thank you. Bless and release. And this could also be like going out in nature. I was working with one woman who she really wanted to travel, and this is a big thing for people. We can't travel all the time. We have things that we need to be doing, at least most of us do. And how can you find these micro moments in our daily lives? And what she did is, she, over her lunch period, she would go out and go on these micro adventures and do things in the woods, go for a walk around the arboretum, or just when you go outside, it's, if you hear the sounds, that can be really, really nourishing. Just noticing, you can start from what's farthest away, the sound, and then kind of bring it back towards you. And that can be either sitting or walking, but really taking that time to take for yourself in nature is something that doesn't have to take long. It can be a walk around the block, 10 minutes, it can be 2 minutes outside. Um, Another thing, and this will be next, but saying no, that creates a lot of time. Reading a book is something that is very little cost, or doing some sort of craft. A lot of people are very creative, but they think, oh, I shouldn't be taking time for that. There are the other more important things that I should be doing. When really, if you took 30 minutes for the thing that you love doing, your craft or whatever it is that you're drawing or painting or things like that, pottery, whatever your thing is, if you took a short amount of time every single day, think of what that would give back to you. Think of how rejuvenated you would be. All right, I just said saying no, so we're going to jump into boundaries here. If you're in the camp of I don't have time, boundaries is a huge one. This is what I think this takes up most of my work, is working with people with boundaries, because saying no can feel very uncomfortable. If you want to create more time, just saying no can be a huge one. This can look like if one of the women that I worked with, she would help out a friend in the evening. The friend's husband traveled, she had young children, and my client was able to go over and help her with like dinner and bedtime and all these things. And it worked for a while, but then after a while, she was like, oh, I don't really want to be doing this anymore. So she was feeling guilty for not wanting to do it. She was feeling guilty for wanting to take care of her own needs, which was just to kind of be home, because she had all these other things that were causing her stress. And we worked together to have a conversation with her friend about, okay, I can't be doing this anymore. Can we come up with a different plan? And that gave her back hours in her week. And this goes for anything that you're putting your time and energy into that is no longer serving you. Maybe it did at one time, but maybe it's not anymore. And when you can start getting the courage and, kind of learning how to say no to things, you will get back so much time. So for those of you who don't have time to do things, taking a look at the things where, when you're saying yes to things, does it give you back energy, or is it like just draining you? That is a huge, huge, huge one, is working on those boundaries and giving, a yes when it actually means yes, and feeling like I'm going to say no here. And that's another one to really kind of start small and practice saying no in a really safe way. And then build up, because you can save so much time by only saying yes to the things that you really want to say yes to, and no to the things that really don't need to. You will gain back so much time. And then unlearning, we've talked about this already, having this kind of different idea of what self-care actually means, and creating a new way, a new meaning, a new mindset around it for what it means to you. And then that intentional practice again. And I say there's two intentional practice. So I want you to be intentional about it. That's that action piece, being very intentional. How are you going to remember to do this? Who's going to support you in it? But then practice. This doesn't have to be a crazy rigid thing. This is a practice. So try it out. Try something very small. Start with 10 minutes a day. For 10 minutes a day, I'm going to devote to doing something that makes me feel good. It could be scheduling doctor's appointments. It could be reading 2 pages in a book, or journaling, or doing your art, whatever it is that actually feels good. Being very intentional and practicing that, because it's going to feel uncomfortable if it's not something that you've been doing. It will feel very uncomfortable as you start to do this. And just know that we're wired to do the same things, and we're wired to kind of stay where we feel safe and cozy. And when we start venturing outside, it makes us a little nervous and like, oh, this doesn't feel good, so I'm just going to revert back. So just know it's just practice. Release any of the expectation around it, and just keep doing it, but do it intentionally and keep going with that practice. Okay, so what's next? What's next is take a screenshot or take a picture here and download it. Those are two of the same things I meant with your camera with the QR code. Download the workbook, because this has so many great journaling opportunities for you. It has the check marks, the worksheet that you can do, the check marks. Yeah, the planner, the thing where you can write everything down. It has all of that in it, and where you can go and make more sense of it. And I told you that I stopped drinking coffee. This is where it catches up with me, is the words are just gone. But I really want you to begin your kind of new and reimagined self-care practice. Just know that it doesn't have to be what you came in thinking that it was. And if you need ideas of things to take care of yourself, I have 3 pages in the workbook where you can get so many ideas of what you can add in. And part of the journaling is, what do you really need? What are the things that would just bring so much joy and peace in your world and feel really, really good if you did them, and if you made the space and gave yourself permission to do them? I hope you enjoyed this today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on social media, I think on Facebook there, or on Instagram, or just send me an email.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alecia, for sharing your time, workbook, and insights with us today. I'm eager to prioritize a little bit of self-care in my life every day going forward. I love nature, so just trying to be outside more for me is a really bit important to me as well. So to everyone who tuned in, we're grateful for your participation. It's through your engagement that we continue to learn, grow, and chase our dreams together. Remember, you can discover more about our upcoming DreamBank events and access content crafted to inspire and support your aspirations on our website. And if you're interested in revisiting this event or exploring past ones, our YouTube channel is the place to be. But I've truly enjoyed learning with all of you today, and I'm excited about the opportunity to connect again at our next DreamBank event. So thank you and take care.